Awesome.
Welcome to Speak to Spirit. I'm your host, 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐞. I help ambitious professionals to realize the higher purpose and meaning of their lives. I just launched my Declutter Your Life program, which will be linked below if you'd like to join us. The first week, we focused on decluttering our bodies and only feeding it high vibrational foods. So I invited a special guest today to talk more about this.
Yay.
Yay! Tara Cassidy is our guest. She is an integrative health and wellness coach. She has a master's degree in health and wellness coaching from the Maryland University of Integrative Health and is a national board certified in health and wellness coaching. Tara is on a mission to help women stop dieting and connect the dots between food and mood, to stop shaming themselves and their bodies for being less than perfect, and start taking back their power when it comes to their well being. Her secret sauce is helping you create the change in your life by transforming your mindset and creating long-term habits of health so you can create the life you desire. Welcome, Tara.
Thank you, Julie. It's so funny to hear your bio read back to you.
Own that beauty and that power,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. I love it.
Yay. Well,
So
I
glad to be here. And I have to say, I love the Declutter Your Life. That is just amazing
thank
because
you.
it's true in all areas. We need to clear the clutter as I look out over my own clutter in my life.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just about creating the space, to welcome in what we desire next. And, I like to say our body is our first home, and if our body's cluttered and we're not nourishing ourselves, everything in our lives is harder. So I always come back to that first. And I've done this challenge a number of times. It's in my book. And I do it myself again and again. When I feel low energy, when I feel moody, when I just feel off, I'm like, okay, let's start at the beginning with what am I eating? How much sleep am I getting? How much exercise, meditation? So that's why, I started this challenge because it works. It really works to come back to self first and then to get into like cleaning our physical space and looking at our relationships at the end of that. So I'm so glad, you enjoy the challenge too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm really looking forward to digging in as well on the challenge because I really need it too. And it doesn't matter how long you've been on this journey, whether you're taking your first step or you've been doing this for decades, we all need to come back and challenge ourselves because life happens and the house gets cluttered and your brain gets cluttered and then the food as well gets cluttered, as it were. So I also do like a detox or a food cleanse at least once a year, every year. So
That's awesome.
get
Yeah.
me back on track.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I would love to ask you, what got you started on this journey of health coaching? How did you first get started on this path?
Ooh, girl. It is more than half my life ago, and I'm happy to say I will be 53 next month.
Yay.
And it's like I had plenty of mishaps. And if I look back on the first step, it was looking at where my life was cluttered. I binge drank as a teen and young adult in my 20s through college. And guess what? That had a negative effect on my body. And I was living in New York, in Brooklyn, with my aunt who was in acupuncture school. And I was like, I'm allergic to everything. I was popping pills left and right. And I was like, there's got to be another way, but I didn't know. But by my speaking out loud my concern, my aunt was like, well, let's get you started and let's clean up your food and add some herbs. So that was the first step over 25 years ago. And then I always think of it as a pendulum swinging, right? So I was like, I have all this information. I'm going gung ho and I'm going all the way this way. And I ate organic and, cooked really well. I learned from my aunt. And then I was like, well, crap, I'm 25. I don't have money for this. It's really expensive. So then I would go like, oh, I want a McDonald's cheeseburger. So I did that and I felt like hell. So then I'd swing back to the pendulum to eating well. And so it went back and forth. And each time I did that or I did a cleanse, the pendulum swing was less extreme each time. So now my falling off the wagon does not look like, Jane Doe every ordinary person's falling off the wagon, because I've been on this journey a long time. And then I started, fast forward, I don't know, 20 years or something, I started a job as an executive administrative assistant. I needed to be on my best game. And the nutritionist that I worked with at the time said, if you want to get clear-headed, you've got to get rid of the gluten in the wheat. And I'm like, well, that's ridiculous, because I love pasta and toast and bread and all the other bready type things. But because this was really important to me, this job, I gave up gluten. I had given up dairy, at 25, 26, finally for good at 27 years old, because of sinus issues, gut issues. And when I gave it up, guess what? I didn't have to pop sinus pills every day. I wasn't as mucousy. My stomach wasn't as embarrassing, let's say, when you're in public spaces. So fast forward, I give up gluten, and I was more clear-headed, and I was like, oh, okay. So specifically noticing. And then I was the go-to person for years. I was also a personal trainer at some point in between there. And so I was always the go-to person, like, well, what should I do? And like, wow, I can't believe you don't eat your lunch at your desk. And I was like, no, I don't. So being that go-to person at the water cooler, I was like, this is what I love to do. That environment where I was an executive secretary became toxic. And I was like, if I could do anything in the world, I would coach. Because I had worked with a life coach shortly after I had divorced my son's father. And so I was like, that's where it's at. And so, long story short, longer story longer, as it were, I was flipping through Mindful magazine, and there was a full page ad for MUIH for health coaching, to get your master's in health coaching. And I was like, that's my program.
Beautiful.
And that started in January of, I don't know, 2018,
Beautiful.
something like that. Yeah, it was really where I'm meant to be, and I love it. I love helping people. I love being in the kitchen, bringing my kindergarten teacher skills at play, keeping it simple. And my joy is being in the kitchen, teaching people how simple cooking healthy for you can be. So that's my long journey in a nutshell, I guess, and how I got to where I am. Yeah.
Beautiful. I would love to know any tips you have for people who find themselves like falling off the bandwagon, like getting on some kind of like healthy rampage and then falling off. Like, how do you get back to it? And why do you think they fall off in the first place? Like, what is it about it? If you're doing so well, what is it about it that creates people to make that choice for that like McDonald's burger when they've been on such a good track? And then if it happens, how do they get themselves back on track?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because let's see, first of all, people fall off the bandwagon because it's easy. Our society is filled with easy fixes. There's a McDonald's on every corner. There's a Starbucks on every corner. There's a Wendy's, like all the fast food you can possibly think of. Easy food in, as we talk about fast food, ordering out, drive through, it's easy. And then as far as, food in the grocery store, it's easy. If you have raised children on your own, or even in partnership, you have one children or multiple children, it's easy. And so to be on the health bandwagon is like swimming upstream, and against the stream, right? And so that's much harder because it's not encouraged in our society. If you have walked through a grocery store, and I'm assuming you have, and your listeners probably have as well, there are millions, literally millions, if not billions, of products that are easy. You look at all of the aisles in the middle of the grocery store, unless your freezer section is in the middle, like the one I go to, it's just easy. And if you look at the front it tells you it's healthy, it's good for you, it's low fat, it's all these claims, it's exciting. I'm doing what's right. I'm doing what's good for me and my family. Very few people turn the package over and bother to look at the ingredients, A. B, the nutrition labels are confusing, and they're purposely made confusing, because then you're like, I don't know, it's good enough. It's like, it doesn't have that much salt. It has, the protein I'm looking for. So it is purposely made easy, and I'm not, what's the term I'm looking for? A conspiracy theorist? I'm not. But the truth of the matter is, there is such a thing as big food. There is such a thing as big ag, and pharma. Big pharma is, I don't know. I feel like they're in cahoots about not allowing people to be healthy easily in our country. And
And how
so,
can we make it easier for people? Like, what can we do to make the process easier? So let's say you're, with your kids and you just want to get something quickly and, kids are acting up or, or you only have so much time because so many of us are so busy now. What can we do when we go to the stores to make the process easier? Like, what are some key tips we could do for that?
plan ahead. In all honesty, plan ahead. What do you like? What is your palate, right? Like, I personally love Indian food. Like, just thinking about it, my palate, I begin to salivate. I just love it. And I think because I've studied a little bit of Ayurvedic, that just those flavors, I don't know, it lights me up. Might not light you up. Mexican might light you up. It might, whatever you were raised with, um, planning ahead is so important. So having stuff in your refrigerator already, having stuff in your pantry that's healthy and, quote unquote easy. You have the stuff, the ingredients ready to do a healthy and simple meal. I raised my son on my own from the time he was just shy of 5 years old. And we cooked together, and I made it fun, and I would take an extra 10 seconds and arrange his food on his plate into a funny face or something like that, so that it was enjoyable. The carrot sticks and hummus, he didn't balk at that because that's what I offered him. It is challenging when they're exchanging meals at school. They're like, oh, I like what you have. You've got those like Lay's potato chips. So it's really planning ahead. And back to your other question about how do you get back on the bandwagon is be gentle with yourself, give yourself some grace, and know that it happens, and get back on and get started again, whether it's at the next meal, the next day, a month later, a year later. Put one step in front of the other. And if you need the assistance, you can always work with a coach. Health coaching is becoming more recognized. And I'm hoping to do that for people, is to make it simple. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
How much water should we be drinking every day?
Water. You don't want to know how much water I drink. Actually, I started doing intermittent fasting just a couple months ago, and I have an app, and I already drank. I wish I had it with me because I usually have this giant, like at least 34. I have two big containers. One is 34 ounces, and the other one, I don't know, it's like 45 or 50. It's big. Yep, nope, I don't have it with me. I just brought my little teeny tiny glass. So this glass in front of me is 16 ounces. I begin every day with one glass. It's sitting by my bedside at night. So how much water is your body weight divided in half? So for instance, if you weigh 150 pounds, divide that in half and you get 75, right? My math is right. So that would be 75 ounces of water every day. If it's hot, you'll want to have more water. If you're more muscular and you're working out in the gym during workouts, you'll want to drink more water. I don't understand, but there's lots of people who don't like the taste of water, which is a-okay. There's things that you can do that actually enhances water, like a half of a lemon in room temperature water first thing in the morning actually gets your metabolism flowing, and it really gets you hydrated. It gets the water into your cells, and we need water and fat for your cells to be working properly. So every day I aim for 96 ounces of water. I don't, I only weigh, I don't know, now 130 some odd pounds. And so that feels good to me. And in order for it to absorb more, I'll often squeeze a whole lemon into that giant thing. If you don't like the flavor, add citrus fruit. It is not, let's see, it's actually alkalinizing in your body. People say, oh, well, the lemon is sour and it's acidic. True, but what it does inside your body is actually alkalinizing. So, fresh fruits, berries, cucumber, rosemary, those are things that you can add. There's those little dropper thingies, and yeah, you can use those, but let's try to get as close to nature as we can.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I really like drinking the Essentia water because it's like, I don't know,
Hmm.
it just tastes better to me than tap water. And I label mine. So I keep track of, like, I date them and label, like, this is the second one of the day. So when I see
Love it.
that, I know I've had at least two, and these are 33 ounces. So then I know I've had at least that, and then I try to drink more. And I've noticed for myself, when I do this consistently, I feel so much more energized. And when I stop doing it, my body really notices and doesn't feel good. So that for me is the motivator to keep doing it, because it helps me to feel good.
Yeah.
And this water's a little pricier, but it tastes good and I drink it, so it's worth it. I'm like, this is my
Yeah.
health, like,
Yeah.
I'll
Absolutely.
pay for health all day long.
And it really does make a difference. So you can do that if you are, this is a plug for the Common Market here in Frederick. If you're a Common Market member, you can get the water for free.
Really?
For free. Yes,
I
ma'am.
love the common market. I just
So
started.
you bring your jugs, fill it up, bring it to the front, and they just mark it off so they know what's been used. But yeah, it's free.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
that's
So if
spring
you're
water?
local. There's two kinds. It's reverse osmosis and another one that you get. And there's a third one that you have to pay for because it's like the really expensive, I don't know what it is. So you can do that. You can, if you can hook up your water faucet to a filter, that's another great way to get good tasting water. It actually filters out any of the impurities in your water. Local water systems aren't exactly the greatest. They do as best they can to clear out a lot of the impurities, but there's still some there. If you have well water, that's much better. If you don't, I highly recommend filtering it. Use a Brita, use a whole house water filter, or use one that attaches to your kitchen faucet, whether it's like on the nozzle or, part of the sink. So I would highly recommend that. That does make a difference in the taste of your water. And like you said, Julie, if you challenge yourself, your listeners challenge themselves to drink the water like you do, and you mark your bottle however many times. You start with a pitcher that's at least 64 ounces, and you drink that in a day. Use a smaller glass to drink out of if you feel better that way. That's cool, or drink out of the big giant thing. They sell them in the stores now with the straw, and it says, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., and it marks it for hours, and that you're getting enough water. I challenge you all to do that and then see how you feel. And when that 3 o'clock slump comes around and you're exhausted, that's when you need water. You're not hungry. You don't need chocolate. You don't need coffee. You actually probably need 16 to 32 ounces of water, Because this is what I learned recently about neuroscience, which is fascinating. The time that we spend in front of the computer is really draining on our brains. And the stress affects our brains. And the more work our brains do, the more water we need. And so when you feel depleted because you're in front of a computer all day and you're talking to people and you're on, you are actually depleted. You do need the water, and at least 64 ounces, regardless of your size.
Awesome. So many good
Yeah,
tips. Love it.
yeah, yeah.
And so what is meant by high vibrational food? So that's part of my challenge. I ask people to eat high vibrational foods. What does that mean?
Oh, I love that question because nobody asks it. So this is great. So high vibrational foods is basically anything that grows in the earth, right? But it's not just grown in the earth, it's grown in good soil. So, when you hear this question of like organic versus conventional, you know, our soil, I don't know the specific numbers, but our soils today, it's basically dirt and there's so little minerals. If you are a home gardener and you go to Home Depot and you get whatever you need to help your garden grow, and it's like, oh, the minerals, there's four. There's 4 minerals in that. Our bodies need hundreds of minerals. And if you're using good soil from an organic farm and they rotate their I want to say produce, we'll stick with produce. They'll rotate their crops so that the soil is like really rich. It's dark and it's crumbly and it smells good. Opposed to dirt that only has those 4 minerals. So if you can sign up for a composting, if you do your own composting, or like here in Frederick, you can pay to have the composting company, pick up your stuff. And in the spring, they'll actually bring the good year-old compost, right? And so high energy foods. So here's how I think about it. If you've ever felt depleted, depressed, anxious, low, heavy, consider what you've been eating. Even if you're eating a vegetarian diet, I can guarantee you've been eating a lot of pasta, bread, really that bring your vibration down. So, and there's not a problem with that. Potatoes are great, carrots are great. They all grow beneath the ground. Meat, if you are buying meat that is pasture raised, grass fed, that's great. I'm a flexitarian. I eat everything, but I focus on where I get it because of what's in it, about the vibrational levels. So back to the low vibrational foods, it's not that they're all low, but it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. Are you eating 80% like low vibe foods, maybe fast food, a lot of prepackaged foods, high in salt, high in fat? When you go, oh man, I'm feeling really depressed. And I ask clients, well, what have you been eating? And they'll say, I don't know. I guess I've been eating out a lot. Okay. Well, let's flip the switch and get higher vibe. Are those vegetables and produce that grows above the ground, right? So if and I've done this for myself, is I'll eat kale and collard greens and red peppers and what else? I don't know, all kinds of things. Beans, like green beans, they all grow above the ground. Anything with a leaf that grows above the ground will help raise that vibration.
Interesting. I've never thought about it that way. I kind of just thought of it as like low vibration is like candy and things that aren't created in nature.
That too.
Crap, right? That you're not supposed to have. But that makes so much sense. Thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying that for me. I didn't know that. I'm glad I asked that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. And on the flip side, if you're feeling like really flighty and like blah out there and like you just can't focus,
Yeah.
maybe you're eating too many like just salads without some sort of protein to ground it or some kind of a healthy fat like avocados or you know, pastured chickens or an egg or something. Again, that 80-20 rule, if you're eating too much of the leafy greens and veggie, it might start affecting your digestion, but it also might make you flighty. It happens with me too. So then I'm like, time to just eat a whole avocado.
Yeah, that's amazing. I
Yeah.
love avocado. Like I could eat avocado and Brussels sprouts are like my go-to. I love them.
Yum.
I probably eat
Yum,
Brussels
yum,
sprouts
yum.
every day. Like they're so
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
good. And how can people get in touch with you if they like to learn more about all of your wisdom? You have so much to share. How can
Oh my goodness. I have, so people can reach me at CassidyWellnessCoaching.com. Email me at CassidyWellnessCoaching@gmail.com. And I actually, right now, I'm starting day 2 of a 3-day masterclass called Confidence in the Kitchen. And it's free and it's a lot of fun. And it really brings it down to basics. Like, A, why do you want to be healthy? B, all of the tools and equipment that you could possibly need, whether you're a beginner, advanced, or somewhere in between, just to make sure, and checklists, you know, of like, how do you go shopping? How do you read a recipe? Like all of those like really basic things are available. And so that's tonight at 5:30 is very exciting.
Oh, that's amazing. I will put all of those links in the description box below so you can stay in touch with Tara and check out her Confidence in the Kitchen class. And I have been to her mindful eating class and her meditation classes, and she is an amazing teacher, very grounding, very knowledgeable. And I've learned so much from you, Tara. So I'm so happy that we got to have you here sharing your knowledge with us, and everybody follow Tara, so you can learn more about taking better care of your body and your nutrition and your health. Thank you so much for being here, Tara.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure, as always, to be together, Julie.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. We'll be talking about decluttering our homes next in the challenge, so stay tuned for that. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get notified when the videos come live. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Do you want to be seen as more of a leader in your industry and bring in monthly reoccurring revenue at the same time? If so, you'll want to check out Julie's VIP Coaching Day. Julie has hosted 8 domestic and international retreats, has hosted a podcast, a summit, has written an international best-selling book, and is now a paid speaker and wants to help you to do the same. To learn more about how she can support you, go to her website at 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐤𝐤.com to set up a call today.